For example, you could jump back to Zaps or tables or canvases all right here. And if we go down to the very bottom, we can also see some of the popular templates. Let's have a quick look at some of the things that you can do with Zapier by clicking on Browse All Templates. Here we are on the templates page, and this gives you a really good sense for all of the different types of apps that you can connect using Zapier. A good sense. Browse all templates. Let's have a quick look at some of the things at your bottom. We can also see some of the popular templates. Let's have a quick look. If we go down, you could jump back to Zaps or tables or canvases all right here. And if we go down to the very bottom, we can also see some of the popular templates. Let's have a quick look at some of the things that you can do with Zapier by clicking on Browse All Templates. Here we are on the templates page, and this gives you a really good sense for all of the different types of apps that you can connect using Zapier. As an example, here at the top, we see one of the most popular integrations. Let's say that you're running an ad on Facebook and you get a new lead, and maybe you'd like to take all of the lead's details and bring them over to Google Sheets. Now, these two apps don't natively talk to one another. However, with Zapier, you can make a connection between these two apps. And you can connect all sorts of different apps. Here we see Gmail. If I scroll down, you have things like Stripe, Calendly, Slack, Instagram. Here we have YouTube and Discord, and the list goes on and on. In fact, they support over 7,000 different connections between apps. So chances are, if you want to connect different apps together, you'll be able to do it. If you find a workflow that meets your needs, you simply click on it, make a few tweaks, and then you've automated one of your tasks. It's really a perfect way to start automating without feeling overwhelmed. However, I'd like to set up a workflow using AI, so let's go back to the homepage by clicking on back. At the Kevin Cookie Company, we love hearing from customers, which is why we have a customer feedback form hosted in Google Forms. The customer can type in their name, their email address, if they want to hear back from us, and then at the very bottom, they can send us their feedback. Then, in Gmail, I compose a personalized response to the customer. And as you can imagine, this takes up quite a bit of time. Back here in the Zapier homepage, I'd like to see if I could automate that workflow by connecting Google Forms together with Gmail. So what's the best way to do that? Well, right up here on the top, we have this text field where we can prompt the Zapier AI to help us with this workflow. So here, I'll type in my prompt. Just use natural language. When someone submits a response in Google Forms, send them a thank you email via Gmail. And over here, let's send that to the AI. Right down below, the AI proposes a new Zap or a workflow automation. Let's take a quick look. Right here, it looks like step one, a new form response is submitted via Google Forms. And then step two is to send an email via Gmail. Now, this is just a really simple example, but you can also use more complex prompts up above. Now, I think this all looks good. So over here, let's click on try it. This now drops us into a canvas where we can continue building and also refining our Zap. Right here in the center, you'll see a visual of the current workflow. So right up on top, we have step number one. Someone submits a new form response. This is also referred to as the trigger. This is what triggers this Zap when someone submits a new form. Then we have step number two, and this is referred to as the action. So once someone submits a new form, we take some type of action, and in this case, we're sending a new email message. If we look right up above at the trigger, you'll notice that there's this yellow exclamation mark. I'll click on this. We need to provide Zapier with a little bit of additional information for this Zap to be able to work. When I click on the trigger over on the right-hand side, here too, we also see the yellow exclamation mark under Configure. So right down here, we have to tell Zapier what Google form we want to use. So here, I could click on this drop down and it'll look at my Google account and find all of the different forms that I have. Here I have one called customer feedback, and that's the form I would like to use. So I'll select that, and over here, let's click on continue. On this next screen, we need to test it to ensure that it's working properly. So down here, let's click on test trigger. Zapier found 3 different form responses. Let's click into form form response be? And here I can see all of the data that Zapier gets back from Google Forms. Right over here, I can see the customer email address. I can see their feedback. Tasty cookies, bruh. That's the feedback we like to hear. And I could also see the customer's name. That looks good. So let's continue with the selected record. On the main canvas next to Google Forms, you'll now see that there's a green check mark, meaning that we've configured Google Forms successfully. Down below, you'll notice that there's now a yellow exclamation mark next to Gmail. We haven't yet configured that. If you run into issues with any one of these steps, over on the left-hand side, we have the Copilot or the AI, and this will assist you with setting up your Zap. So feel free to type in a prompt down below and it can help you. Now, right here, I see that I still need to configure Gmail. So with this step selected, over on the right-hand side, make sure that you're in the configure view. Down below, we need to fill in some of these details. For example, who are we sending this email to? Where is it coming from? What's the subject? What's the body? Now, one thing you might have noticed is every time someone submits a form, we'd like to send it to the person who submitted the form. So the email address is going to vary every single time. So if I click in here, I don't want to just type in a fixed value. I need it to be based on the form submission. When I click into the to field over on the right hand side, you'll see this helpful hint that says / for field mapping. Let's press the / key. This opens up a screen over on the left-hand side that allows us to insert dynamic values that will change with every single submission. Right at the top, we have some of the AI Copilot suggestions, and down below, we can see all the different data that we get back from the Google form. Now, of course, I want to send this to the person who submitted the form, and right up here under Copilot suggestions, we can see one of the Google form questions, which is what is your email address? And then we see the value of the email address. I'd like to respond to that email address. So I'll click on this. Then we could close out of this. And here we see that the email will be sent to the person who submitted the form. The beautiful thing here is Zapier will use whatever email address is included on the form, and then it'll use this email address and send the email there. Next, let's go down to the from field, and I would like this to come from my email address. So over here, I'll select my email address and that fills it in. Let's now scroll down a little bit more, and right here, I need to enter in the subject. I'm going to keep this simple. I'll type in, thanks for your feedback. Then let's look down at the body. I'd like to type in a personalized message. So let's start by saying hi. And here I'd like to Let's now scroll down a little bit more. And right here, I need to enter in the subject. I'm going to keep this simple. I'll type in, thanks for your feedback. Then let's look down at the body. I'd like to type in a personalized message. So let's start by saying hi. And here I'd like to insert the person's name. So this is another dynamic value. Now, if you remember from earlier, we entered in the / key to expose all of the different dynamic values. And when I enter in the forward slash, here I see all the different suggestions again. So I'd like to refer to their name. And here I see in the Google form, we collect the customer's name. So here I'll select this, and there it's inserted that dynamic value. Then I'll insert a comma, and let me type in something like, "We appreciate your feedback." Now that I've entered that, maybe it makes sense to actually show what their feedback was. So here too, I could also insert another dynamic value. Here I see everything that I get back from Google Forms. And right up on top, we have the option that says, "What's your feedback?" And then we see what the feedback was. I'll click on this, and that again inserts another dynamic value. Let's close out of this by clicking on the X. I think all of this now looks good. Feedback, and then we see what the feedback was. I'll click on this, and that again inserts another dynamic value. Let's close out of this by clicking on the X. I think all of this now looks good, so in the bottom right-hand corner, let's click on Continue. On the last step, I can preview all the data that will be included in the email. So here I see the to field, the from field, the subject, and the body, including all of those dynamic values filled in. This all looks good, so down here, I'll click on Test Step. Here in my inbox, I now received an email, and it filled in all of those different dynamic values. Back in Zapier, now that we automatically go out. See that new Zap, and right here we can see that it's currently turned on. This is a super simple automation, but hopefully it shows you how powerful Zapier can be. In just a few clicks, we set up a workflow that runs automatically in the background. That way, you'll save time and effort every single day. Of course, this is just the beginning. The Zap that we set up is pretty basic. It doesn't really send out personalized messages, which is what I had been doing. So let's see if we can take this Zap to the next level. To edit one of your Zaps, simply hover over the name and then click on it. This opens up the canvas with my Zap. To edit it in over. So this is just the beginning. The Zap that we set up is pretty basic. It doesn't really send out personalized messages, which is what I had been doing. So let's see if we can take this Zap to the next level. To edit one of your Zaps, simply hover over the name and then click on it. This opens up the canvas with my Zap. To edit it, in the top right-hand corner, let's click on Edit Zap. When I sent that email to the customer, I used their full name. I said, "Hi, Calvin Biggs." But instead, I think it would be a little nicer to just refer to them by their first name. So let's see if we can add another step to change that. Right over here, I can click on this plus icon to add another step. This opens up a prompt where we can see all the different apps that we could add into our workflow. Right up on top, you can also search across the 7,000 plus apps and tools. Now, I would like to take that name, but I only want to use a portion of it. And Zapier offers a tool called the Formatter. Now, what's really neat about this tool is it helps you manipulate, format, and also transform data between different apps in your Zaps or your automated workflows. It's kind of like a bridge to make sure that the data fits the correct format. So right over here, let's click on the formatter. Just like we did with Google Forms and Gmail, we need to configure the formatter. Over on the right-hand side, first off, we have to choose the action event. I'm working with text. So right here, let's select text. And down below, let's click on continue. Now that we've told it that we're working with text, we need to tell it how we want it to change the text or transform the text. I'll click on this drop down, and here we have all sorts of different options. For example, you could capitalize text. Right over here, if we go down a little bit more, you could trim the white space. And let's continue going down to see if we could find an option for splitting text. Right here, we have an option to split. I'll select that. Next, we need to tell it what we would like to split. So over here, we can tell it what the input is. I'll click on this, and we want to split some text from the Google form. So let's enter in the /, and this opens up all the different fields from the Google form. And if we look right here, let's see if we could find the user's name. If I go down just a little bit, here we see what's your name. I want to split this, so let's select that. Right up on top, let's close out of that view. In the next field, I can define what the separator is. Is it a character? Is it a word? In my case, I have a space between the first name and the last name, so I want to separate based on a space. Now, if I click on separator, I get some helpful information. Here it tells me that the default is a space, so I don't have to do anything. I'll simply leave it like this, and it'll separate on a space. Down below, let's click on continue. On this next screen, here I can see the input is the name, and let's test it to see if it successfully splits it. Right up above, I can see the output. It looks like it just gives me the first name, Calvin. That's great. In the bottom right, let's click on continue. Now that we've separated out the first name using the formatter, we can now use that first name in the email message. So here on the Gmail step, let's go back to configure. In configure, let's go down to the body. So right here, I say hi, and then currently I'm including the full name, but I just want the first name. So over here, I'll delete that. Then let's enter in the /, and here I see all the different dynamic values. And right down at the bottom, here I see a value that I get back from the formatter. I'll click on this, and here we see the output with just the first name. I'll select this. Let's close out of this. And now when we look at the email message, it'll say hi, and then it'll just include the first name. That's exactly what I want. This is a little bit more personal, but let's actually see if we could take this to the next level by using AI respond to the feedback. Right over here on the canvas, let's again add another step, click on this plus icon. And over on the right-hand side, we have all the different popular built-in tools. And at the very top, we have an option called AI by Zapier. Let's click on this one. Over on the right-hand side, let's now configure it by clicking on Initiate Prompt Assistant. Over on the left-hand side, let's describe the desired action. I'd like to read the customer feedback and then respond via email to the feedback. I'd like to address the customer by their first name and then include my response. Let's now have AI generate a prompt. It now generates a prompt over on the right-hand side. Let's have a quick look. You are a master of customer service, and you are asked to respond to customer feedback. And here it wants to reference the customer feedback, but we need to tell it where to look for that feedback. Over on the left-hand side, we have different input fields, and here there's one for customer feedback. So let's click into this and then press the / for all those different dynamic values. Let's now scroll down, and right here, we see what's your feedback along with the feedback. I'll click on this. Now, if we look over at the prompt, it'll feed in the actual customer feedback directly from that Google form. Next, it also says address the customer by their first name, but it needs to know what the customer's first name is. So let's scroll over back to the input fields, and here we see one for customer first name. Let's enter in the /, and here we see all those different dynamic values. But remember, we don't have the first name directly on the Google form. We set up that additional step using the formatter, and that splits out the first name from the last name. So let's use the output from that. I'll click on this, and here we see the output with just the first name. I'll select that, and we'll now feed in the first name to the prompt. Let's scroll back up, and here we can review the rest of the prompt. I think this all looks pretty good. I don't think we need to make any other changes. Down at the bottom, we also see the output field name. It'll be email_response. This all looks good, so at the bottom, let's click on continue. Right up above, we see all the different instructions with all of those dynamic values filled in. Here we see the feedback, and here we see the first name. Let's now test this step. Right up above, we can see the output. So here it addresses the customer by their first name, and then here it reads the customer's feedback and it writes a response. Now this was positive feedback, so here it responds, thank you for your enthusiastic feedback about our cookies. Down below, it also asks us to fill in the name. Of course, we could probably go back and modify the prompt to make sure that's filled in, but I think for now, this is good enough, so let's click on Continue. On this screen, let's now configure Gmail to use this response. Right up on top, let's click on Configure. Then let's scroll down until we get down to the body. Right here, let's select all of the previous text in the body, and then let's remove that. Now let's enter in the / because we want to insert a dynamic value. And here we see all the different dynamic values. If we go all the way down to the bottom, we see this option for Analyze and Return Data in AI by Zapier. Let's click on that, and that expands this category. And here we see that email response that includes all of the output from the AI. Let's select that, and here that inserts it into the body of the email message. This is now all good, so at the bottom, let's click on Continue. And over here, we can now test this step. And there it's been sent. I think this all looks good, so let's click on Publish. Right up above, I can give it a new version. So here, I'll call it V2 and then click on Publish. And look at that, it's now been published. Let's now test this out. I have a Google form and I filled out all the details with some feedback. Let's click on Submit. And here, I immediately receive a personalized response to that feedback. And honestly, this is really high quality. Now, that's pretty impressive, right? Who would have thought you could create an automation that responds to emails? And hey, we just did it. But of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Zapier offers so much more. For example, when I click on this plus icon to add another step, we have all these different apps, and you also have
Step into Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises, and turn website layouts into an art form.
If you're even remotely familiar with the term automation and have basic know-how, chances are you're already familiar with Zapier, considering their pioneer status in the workflow automation space. However, as the novelty fades out over time, the need for an automation tool more powerful gets stronger every day. And this is where Make is trying to make their move. The question is Make more useful than Zapier? And more importantly, Which one should you go with? Let's find out in our video today. As expected, the first core difference you'll notice between Make and Zapier is in terms of how both platforms look and feel. Make, for instance, comes with a bunch of features that prioritize visual automation, such as the scenario editor, which we found to be easier to use, especially when compared to Zapier's linear table-like builder. This feature alone made Zapier feel a bit old school, especially when you notice the drag-and-drop scenario editor from Make allowed us to visually create, edit, and expand our automation in a manner that felt more intuitive, logical, and almost like a video game. Now, aside from being more user-friendly and intuitive in comparison, the scenario editor from Make also demonstrates processes being executed in real time. And as you can see, it looks pretty slick. Scenarios can grow in size. Being able to visualize the process at a glance provides us with a bunch of tactical advantages. For example, we all know by now how important it is to get a clear view of scenarios to understand processes and work for their improvement. For that, Make Scenario proved to be a strong visual aid for utilizing data flows and results. Speaking of visuals, being able to see and locate errors where they are happening is not only important, but almost vital to a granular level. Not only that, but we found Make to be a bit more flexible and make it easy to rearrange, duplicate, share, copy, and maintain the overall workflow. We found this to be particularly effective, considering we didn't have to rely on guesswork anymore. And why would we? Everything's clearly displayed up front. At this point, we are all familiar with how Zapier features over 5,000 apps, but the thing is, it's not the only platform to pull that off. While a bit smaller in scale,
Welcome to Zapier University 101, a course that'll teach you about automation and how you can use it at work. So, why is it important? Well, at work, we're likely to use a bunch of different apps and software to get our jobs done. And these systems don't always talk to each other, so you might find yourself copying and pasting from one app to another, or updating the same information in multiple places. It's annoying and it wastes your time. At Zapier, we help users connect web apps and move information between them automatically, so you don't have to copy and paste. We do this through automatic workflows we call Zaps, and it's an easy way to automate routine tasks for busy people like you. In this course, you'll learn what automation is, the basics of how you can automate your work, some more advanced automation, and finally, the limits of automation. We'll be your guides throughout this course. We put it together because we believe everyone can learn automation. It frees us from the tedious tasks at work, so we can tackle the stuff we really care about. By the end of this course, you'll understand how, why, and when to automate a task. And we want you to feel confident enough to create your own Zaps. Ready to get started? Let's jump right in.
In this section, you'll learn what automation is, what it isn't, and how you already use it every day. You'll also learn how to recognize what you can automate at work and come away with a concrete example of a task you can automate right now. We found that people who have a general understanding of how automation works are more successful at creating Zaps that save time and solve their problems. We think automation is a skill that'll help your career too, and learning a new skill takes time and practice. So we want to make sure that you know the ins and outs. We're starting with the basics because while automation can be complex, the core concept is quite simple. Once you learn what it is and how you can use it, you'll see that automation is for everyone.
Let's tackle the big question. What is automation? Automation is a technique used to operate something automatically. It saves time, eliminates human error, and most importantly, it solves problems. Automation might sound fancy or futuristic, but you have to remember the future's right now. Automation's all around us. We have automatic transmissions in our cars, which shifts the gears so we don't have to. We have automatic coffee makers to help us make a consistent cup of coffee. When we go to the store, the doors open for us automatically so we can carry our purchases out with both hands. These are the things you don't have to think about because automation takes care of them for you. They solve problems you may not have realized you had. We're also surrounded by automation in the technologies that we use. You've probably automated tasks before without even realizing it. Take your phone, for instance. It has alarms you can set to go off at certain times. There's reminders that pop up when you reach a location, and you can create rules for when it should and shouldn't show you alerts. And what about your email inbox? You can create rules and filters to automatically move messages to the right folders. Or you can reply to certain messages automatically. In these examples, you spent a little time setting up rules, and then they're followed. From then on, it just runs without you having to think about it. Zapier is an automation product, so in our case, the something getting automated is an action you'd normally perform in an app with a mouse and keyboard. A simple command is at the heart of every single automation. When this happens, do that. When it's between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., silence my notifications so I can get some sleep. When I get an email from this sender, move it to that folder so my inbox stays organized. When and do is small, but it's powerful, and you can build on it. When a lead responds to my ad, send them a text, then alert my team and add an item on my to-do list. This when and do command is at the heart of how Zapier works. Automation's a technique, and at Zapier, we believe it's a technique anyone can learn. In our next lesson, we'll show you how to think like a computer by breaking down your repetitive tasks into steps. That way, you can do things like automatically follow up with your leads, or post to social media, copy an item to a spreadsheet, add invitees to a webinar, send form responses to your team, send pre-written emails, update chat statuses. The list goes on and on. We have a PDF attached to this lesson that we recommend you fill out. Think about your daily routine. What are some examples of automation in your life? What are some examples of automation from the technology that you use? What repetitive tasks would you like to automate? Write this all down and save it. You're going to need it later. We'll see you in the next lesson. How do you know when you should automate something you do at work? Well, we think it's simple. Evaluate a task against these three categories. First, it's a task you have to do frequently or on a schedule. For example, maybe you send personal messages to leads after you've made initial contact with them. It's a nice gesture, and perhaps that influences your leads to stay in touch. How do you know when you should automate something you do at work? Well, we think it's simple. Evaluate a task against these three categories. First, it's a task you have to do frequently or on a schedule. For example, maybe you send personal messages to leads after you've made initial contact with them. It's a nice gesture, and perhaps that influences your leads to stay in touch. That's a task you can automate. Second, it's a task that involves moving information between apps. When you first contact a lead, you likely put that information in a customer relationship manager, but perhaps you also have to add that new lead to a spreadsheet or database. That's a task you can automate. Third, it's a task that's easy, but it's repetitive and time-consuming. Maybe you regularly save email attachments to the cloud because they're important documents. It's not a complex thing to do, but it is a lot of clicking, downloading, and uploading. Ultimately, a task is a good candidate for automation if it takes you away from what you really want to be doing. Automation isn't just about saving a few minutes here and there. Think about how that time adds up over the long term. Now, how does that time break down in cost per hour? Sure, you'll save time and money when you automate tasks, but ultimately, automation frees you up to develop the skills that only a human can uniquely do, like teaching, public speaking, or building relationships. You can spend more time on meaningful work and less time on tasks you could do in your sleep. You now know how to recognize when something should be automated. It's a task you have to do frequently. It involves moving information from one app to another. It's a task that's boring and doesn't require much thinking, or it takes time away from what you want to do. Remember, a simple command is at the heart of every automation. When this happens, do that. When you have a meeting with a potential lead, send a personal message an hour later. Or, when you receive an email with an attachment, upload that file to the cloud. Now here's your assignment. Write down 3 to 5 of the most tedious tasks you do every day or every week at work. Include what each one does and what apps you use to get them done, and how many times you have to do them. Then, rewrite each task in the form of the when and do command we discussed earlier. Keep this list handy. You'll be using it to create Create your own automation soon. See you in the next lesson.
So, you want to learn how to code? Well, check out Codecademy. It's the easiest place to learn how to code with tons of features to help you land the career.
To recap, automation is a technique used to operate something automatically. And at the heart of every automation is a simple command. When this happens, do that. Automation is everywhere in our daily life, from our coffee maker that brews the perfect cup of every time to the sliding glass doors at the grocery store. Automation is also in the technology we use, from the preset reminders on our phones to the exact time that our laptop falls asleep. Now you can recognize when something should be automated, whether that's a task you have to do very frequently, like moving information between apps, or a task that takes time away from something you want to be doing. When you automate, you have more time, reduce human error, and most importantly, quickly solve problems. You can spend more time on meaningful work like teaching, public speaking, or building relationships with your coworkers. You examined your daily routine and wrote down some examples of automation in your life, from the technology you use to the repetitive tasks you tackle every day. You also learned how to think like a computer and reframe some of the tedious tasks in your day as when and do commands. Now that you got a handle on the foundations, you're ready to learn how to make your own automation. We'll see you in the next section. In this section, we're moving from the theoretical to the practical, diving right into how to use Zapier to automate your work. You'll learn how your automated workflows, which we call Zaps, pass information from one app to another. You'll also learn how to think through the logic of a Zap and how to use this logic model when you're creating your own automated workflows. You'll create your own Zap and apply the lessons you've learned so far to solve a problem you've identified in your own life. And finally, you'll learn how to manage your Zaps within Zapier and how to make sure your automation is working the way that you want it to. By the end of this section, workplace automation won't be an abstract, futuristic concept. It'll just be a technique you've put into practice yourself. This is going to be a technical lesson digging into how apps talk to each other. Think of it as a primer into how Zapier works under the hood. If you need to pause at any point, please do so. If you already know how APIs work, feel free to skip ahead to the next lesson. We use apps every day. Think Gmail, Google Calendars, or Salesforce. We access these apps with a web browser on our computer or on our phone. This is called the app's user interface, or UI. The UI lets us interact with the app by clicking buttons and typing text. It's designed so that humans can easily talk with computers. Apps can also talk directly to each other through something called the Application Program Interface, or API. An API is designed for computers to talk to each other. For example, let's take automatic bill payments for your credit card. You set this up by going through a credit card company's UI to grant access to your bank account. You clicked the button, entered your information, and clicked another button. When your bill is due, it requests money from your bank account using the bank's API. This happens quickly, behind the scenes, and doesn't require any clicks on the screen. The apps are talking amongst themselves based on rules you set up in advance. Each app you use is primarily just a collection of information or data. Take a look at this data from an app's API. It's a little difficult to read because it's meant for other computers to read. When you need apps to talk to each other, you can tell them which data to send or receive by creating rules each app's API will follow. But how do you create these rules? One way to do that is to learn how to write computer code or hire someone to write that code for you. If you're starting from zero, that can be time intensive and costly. On the other hand, there are tools like Zapier to help you write those automation rules without the need to write computer code yourself. So let's review. A user interface, or UI, is how humans interact with a program or computer. We interact by clicking buttons and typing text. An application programming interface, or API, is how computers and apps talk to each other. They send and receive data using their own computer language. The UI is something you can see. The API is behind the scenes. Different apps can see and receive data using their own computer language. The UI is something you can see. The API is behind the scenes. Different apps can communicate with each other based on rules set up in advance. And you can create those rules either through writing computer code or using a tool like Zapier. Now that you understand how apps talk to each other, you're ready to learn how you can create those rules using Zapier. See you in the next lesson.
Framer plugins just a few months ago, we now already have over 100 plugins available on the Framer Marketplace, with more being added every week. You can explore all of them at framer.com/marketplace or
So, you want to make money with Zapier. Now, first of all, what is it and how it works? Well, let's say you own a website, okay? And then you just selling like books, let's say. And for example, I'm your customer, I go to your website, I complete that form, I entered my details, email, credit card information, and then what you need to do is you need to go into like Xero or QuickBooks in order to like send me an invoice and actually just send me that via email, right? It's an easy thing to do. It takes like, 5 minutes to do. You just click here and there, anyone can do it. But let's say that you start getting like dozens of these. So for example, you just start getting like 50 orders per day. Now, all of a sudden, you need one person to do that all day, That's like a time-consuming job if you get like 50 or 100 orders on your website. And that's what Zapier is gonna do. It's gonna automate the process, okay? So it's gonna automate that order. It's gonna take the details, create an invoice, and send that via email. For a price, of course. It is everything about automation on Zapier.com. Okay, so you have a lot of these apps which are made just for that, just for automation of your business, your website, your company. Of course, they charge a price for it, but how can we get this done? How can we use Zapier in order to firstly learn a skill for ourselves and then secondly make money from it? Well, the good thing is that Zapier is not for everyone, okay? So all of these companies, they need to automate their business, they need to automate those repetitive tasks, and they need to save money and time and energy with that. So for example, this Zap, I don't know, like add new leads to an email list. It's an easy thing to do, but you can automate it and no one else has to do it. Now, save email attachments to Google Drive, create Trello cards for new form responses, a lot of things, a lot of use cases. They've got a lot of these software, okay? Just a lot. Now, you can explore more of these, and you've got like even these like figured out by roles in your company. For example, business owner, engineering, marketing. So you can just check one of these and you can check which software these people can use in order to like make it function, But here's where we come in place, okay? Because when you own a company and when you want to just automate your business, you need a simple plan. Well, you can just download something from Zapier. But there are like a lot of these simple software which need like a bit more complexity to it. So these people will hire someone to do their Zapier work. Okay, so that's where you can get in place. Now I know what you're thinking. I don't know to use Zapier. What I'm gonna do, is it easy? Is it hard? Can we make money with it? Well, judging from this website, there's a learning curve for sure. But Zapier has excellent beginner guides and learning resources, and this means that after even an hour or so, you should be able to start setting up simple zaps. So that is a good thing, People don't want to invest 1 hour or 2 hours in order to learn a skill. and you don't have to like know how to code, you know? You don't have to be a programmer in order to make this work, you know? You just have to like take simple courses, for example. Just take a look at this. Free Zapier courses online. So if you just go to this website and do a quick Google search, you can actually get this skill for yourself. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials as well. Just take a look at this 2-hour long YouTube video, complete Zapier tutorial for beginners. So if you want to invest your time and get this skill, well, it's gonna be worthwhile for you because there's not a lot of supply for this one. Let me show you, for example, on Fiverr. I usually don't recommend Fiverr because of all the competition that they have, but just take a look at this Zapier on Fiverr. They've got only 900 services, okay? So that's like a crazy low amount. There's a lot of demand for this one, but there isn't so much supply, okay? That is why this is so good. For example, if you just go and compare Zapier to graphics and design, just take a look at these gigs. I don't know, I can go into, web and app design because maybe that's similar. There's 30,000 services available, okay? And when you compare that to 900 services, I mean, that's funny. Go and learn the Zapier skill if you have any interest in it. And there's a lot of money to be made as well. Just take a look at this guy, for example. He's got 73 sales. But just take a look at the money, guys. $235 for the basic package. Standard package is $500, and I'm afraid to click on this premium one. Well, it's $850. I mean, that's a lot of money. Let's just take this standard package. 565. Let's say that's an average for his 73 sales times 565. Well, that's gonna be $41,000. $41,000, you have to invest like 2 or 4 hours for learning this skill. And just take a look at this. If you head over to Zapier and you search for all of these like tools that they have a simple tutorial for each one of these, and they've got 5,000 apps. Just take a look at this. They've got a website which is called Zapier Learn. So you can level up your automation skills with self-paced course tutorials and certifications. You've got a lot of videos, you've got a lot of these beginner guides, and trust me guys, this can be done by anyone, okay? Don't let anything stop you.
So, you want to learn how to code? Well, check out Codecademy. It's the easiest place to learn how to code with tons.
Okay, just go and learn a skill for yourself, which can stay with you for a lifetime, all right? It's not a hard skill to learn, especially if you like to work with computers and all of that. Now, just take a look at this like river of content that you have. A lot of these like guides, a lot of content, a lot of paths, a lot of tutorials and courses on the main website. So what's happening here, okay? They incentivize people to use Zapier.com. They incentivize to like create a new wave of these like persons who just know to use Zapier, okay? And you don't need to code, as I've told you. You just have to learn one thing only, and that is like these zaps, how to automate the process. Because here's what you're gonna do. For example, someone will hire you, okay? And they need, I don't know, maybe they need their YouTube channel like managed, you know? And they will just let you know their workflow, okay? And if you can spot in that workflow which one of those parts can be automated, that's it. That's everything that you have to spot, and then you can just use Zapier as a tool. And with these guides, you will know every trick in the book, okay? Just take a look at this, Zapier Quick Start Guide. Now, first of all, start here, and then go and take all of that content which is available for free. That is the best part of this one, okay? You don't have to pay for the content. You don't have to pay for the courses. You don't have to pay for tutorials. Free knowledge for yourself, just if you want to work for it, okay? It's not gonna do on its own. Nothing's gonna fall from the sky. If you want to do that, go and complete some surveys and just get like pennies. But if this is something that you are interested in, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, right? Well, just go and do it, okay? Invest some time into it instead of, I don't know, scrolling on social media, watching Facebook and YouTube, whatever. Go and learn this skill for yourself. You are going to need it. Just take a look at this, for example. You can find a lot of work on Upwork as well. For example, this guy needs Trello and Zapier expert. Let me click on it. So I'm in need of someone who can build an easy and time-saving content production workflow using Trello, Zapier, and he's going to give you $250 flow. You click on it. So I'm in as well. You are going to need it. Just take a look at this, for example. You can find a lot of work on Upwork as well. For example, this guy needs Trello and Zapier expert. Let me click on it. So I'm in need of someone who can build an easy and time-saving content production workflow using Trello. Zapier, and he's going to give you $250 for it. So, opportunity is there. You just have to grab it. If you go over to like Upwork to search for some people, you can see that a lot of people are making huge amounts of money. So I don't know. This person, like this Sunny S, he knows Zapier and a lot of these other things. He's from India, but just take a look at the money he made. Okay, so that's $500,000 from that only. I mean, that's crazy. That's just crazy. Zapier expert. Workflow automation. This is what you can do. AI integrations, Zapier expert. He's from the United States, $400,000. Okay, Zapier expert. Trust me, guys. Zapier expert only knows one tool. Okay, so that's what you can do. If this guy can do it, you can do it. And I'm telling that because you don't have to know how to code, okay? You don't have to know, I don't know, Python, HTML, CS++, whatever. You don't have to know any of those. For example, I have found this person. Just take a look at this. Only 2 jobs for this guy. And he's called Zapier Automations Expert. So 2 jobs he completed. One was $200 and the second one was $200. And just take a look at this. So this job was completed from 22nd of August to 26th of August, 2022. So he needed 4 days to complete this job and get himself $200. So that's $50 per day. Okay, so now you can see the opportunity. Now you can see it's all in there. You can just do the research, just go and see what other people are doing. And if you like something, if you have passion for it, just go and do it because it is possible, especially in this freelance and gig economy that we live in today, okay? So you can just go and make yourself a living just with that, but you gotta learn the skill, whatever that is. If you don't like this one, go with, I don't know, Photoshop, go edit videos, whatever your passion is, go and pursue that because there's an opportunity for it. This, of course, can be done anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. Your customers are going to be all over the world, and Zapier already has a reputation on its own, you know. You don't have to build your company from scratch, you know. That's the best part of it. A lot of people know about Zapier. It's a popular thing. A lot of people want to automate your businesses because they want to save time, energy, money, you know. They want to automate that, and they're willing to pay money in order to just save all of those things. Just take a look at Zapier.com and similar.web. There's 8.9 million total visits, and Zapier makes a lot of money. Just take a look at this. If you head over to pricing section on Zapier.com, you will eventually see that there are like some crazy plans. Just take a look at what is the plan for company, for businesses. $800 billed monthly. Okay, so billed annually, but it's per month. So $800 per month. That is just some crazy money. So you can just imagine how much money these people are making and what is their workflow. Okay, so they have some like really good customers. You can learn this skill. I don't know how much time it's going to take you. It all depends on the person, but the more time you invest in this,
Chcete začít podnikat? A pravděpodobně nezačnete. Proč? Podívejte se na čísla.
It's China again, but it's not DeepSeek. This time, it's not, language model. This time, it's an AI agent. And it's a really, really powerful one. It's called Manus, and it's all over the internet. Manus is a general AI agent. The benchmarks are pretty good, but I tend not to believe these because, well, it's just who knows what they've been testing. Until I see it, well, I don't believe it. But I saw it, and it's really good. First of all, it can design a website just like this with one simple prompt. But it actually works like this. So first of all, you give it a prompt, and then it's just like looking someone over the shoulder using the computer. As you can see, this is the browser here. And the Manus is doing these things in the background. You can, of course, watch it in action, or you can just go and make yourself a coffee, and whatever task you gave it, it's gonna be completed. It's just too good. Just have a look at this prompt. So the prompt was, I need a 7-day Japan, just a travel plan, and you give it a dates, you give it a budget, and of course, you just tell it like this. We love historical sites, hidden gems, and Japanese culture. And, you get a full overview, a full breakdown, total report on what are you gonna do once you get there. On the first day, as you can see in the morning, you get to the airport, and then what are you gonna do in the afternoon? What are you gonna do in the evening? And this is just too good. If you're busy and you wanna plan a trip to, I don't know, New York, how many hours would you spend in order to find what to see in New York so you don't waste your time there? This is just too good. And it's not only that, it can, as I've told you, it can give you websites, it can help you with e-commerce, it can help you with editing audio and video. It can, of course, write blog posts, it can code games. It can find you customers for your B2B business. Like, you can just say, list at least 15 companies inside of my own niche. You just describe what you want. And then what I like about this one is that you get to see a to-do list that it makes for itself. And then it's just go and, does one thing at a time. It's all like this, it's all in the code, it's all in the research that it does. And of course, as I've told you, you can watch it in action. And at the end, it's just gonna give you the full report, whether you want a spreadsheet or a PDF file, whatever. And yeah, it's just gonna complete a job. Now, I know that a lot of people will say, okay, this is just like ChatGPT Operator, right? But ChatGPT Operator, maybe you remember, maybe you don't, it's $200 per month. Now, this is not out yet. You have to have an invitation code. But when it becomes available to the general public, right, it's not gonna be $200 per month. I can't put I swear, like it's my own company, but I'm sure that it's not gonna be that expensive. And if you do some research online, you'll see that people who use it, well, they say it's not worth it. ChatGPT is just too much. And have a look at this. If you want to, this is the last example that I've shown you to list 15 companies for me. Look at it. Look what it made, right? If I click here, it's responsive, it's just too good. It's clean as well. And for example, if this is your thing, you click on visit and you can visit each one of these websites. It's like your own personal assistant, which does everything for you in whichever niche you want. It's just too good. Now, how can we make money with this one? Well, we can just drop service this one, right? So we can use this assistant to work for us while we work and complete those tasks for others. Now, it's just going to be what are you interested in, right? What interest you have and what kind of money you expect with this one. It's not going to be $1 million. It's not going to be a get-rich-quick scheme. You still have to give it a prompt. You still have to watch it and correct mistakes if there are going to be any. But honestly, I see a lot of potential with this one because let's say you want to work as a virtual assistant, as a side hustle, whatever. Now, you get one client and then that client gives you a certain task. Now, with Manus, well, you can give it this task and then you can proceed to get another client and get another task. And it's basically just gonna work for you. Now, I do recommend that you head over to the website. You can just Google for it like this. So it is Manus AI, and it's going to be this one, manus.im. And I recommend you watch this video, and this person explains it very briefly, but a very good explanation of what Manus is and what it consists of. And down there, you've got many of these examples.